Hey there, average Joes. Welcome back to the Eternal Struggle. I am your average host, JayMang. Today, once again, joined by my taller than average co-host, TallSharkandHandsome. How are you doing today, Shark?
Jay, I am doing great. I had just the strangest week. My job sent me on a trip to Florida, which is awesome. I mean, who doesn't want to go to Florida? Okay, who doesn't want to have a very short trip to Florida? Yeah, I was sent down there to have an interview and film this old guy, this investor. Um, and we got there. There was a couple of like rumblings that people around the office said, like, "Oh, watch out for his house." Like, hope you're not too uptight. And like, we got to their house, and the first thing that you see is, it's this huge open space. There's a giant bookshelf on the left hand side, lots of paintings. Is that a naked lady? Okay, yeah. There's a naked lady sculpture. Okay, is that there's another naked lady. Yep, there's he had immediately to the right of the door, there was a cast of his 35-year-old Russian blonde wife. Her front of her body from like neck, no arms, down to like her upper thighs, like very much in detail.
Oh,
Very
wow.
much in detail.
How old is this guy?
This guy is 60 something, maybe
Okay,
70.
I just want to like set the mood because obviously he's
Oh yeah.
like the fact that you mentioned that she's the 35-year-old Russian wife like tells me that we've got one of those situations. Go ahead and continue your story.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. So like, okay, we saw that. He kind of leads us around the house a little bit. On his dinner table are three, I'll call them busts, but that's the wrong part of the body. Um
But
yeah, they were literally there was two on the ends that were exactly the same, and it was basically as if someone like bent over and then you cut off the top of your thigh and the rest of your body, and that's what you saw. It was literally just
a bent over ass.
a bent over ass and vagina.
Okay, so
And
like a girl you're bending over the table on top of the table.
right, except it was flipped upside down, so it was like a butt coming out of the table.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And it was made in such a way that they were able to just jam three candles inside it.
Oh, okay. Is it the at? Okay, no, maybe that's too much
It's
detail.
it's literally three candles inside this sculpture, as their centerpiece for their dinner table.
Okay, I'm gonna ask anyways. Like what I did there. I'm gonna ask you a question.
Okay.
Were the candles in the asshole or were they in the vagina?
So because it was made of bronze, it's not really stretchable. So it was kind of all the same hole. It looked like the ass from one side, it looked like the vagina from the other side, but they were all just jammed in that one spot. I feel like they just cut out that whole part
Oh, okay. It was an episiotomy. I got it.
yes. So those two were on the ends, and the one in the middle was just his wife's butt. Like she was like up and bent over, and it was right there on the dinner table. We actually had lunch with him and his wife and the three cameramen, just with these things on the center of the table.
Was she an attractive 35-year-old Russian woman?
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Okay,
Like
that's. I mean,
she very clearly doesn't have to work for anything. She had just gotten lip injections. She has very
ooh,
pretty eyes.
not a fan of the whole lip injection
Less than
craze.
100 pounds. Like very tiny. That was the first
Anyways,
floor. We went up to the second floor, and there was a party room, which he called it.
I can only
First
imagine.
the first thing you see is a giant mural, like literally like 10 feet by like 8 feet, just a complete orgy. Um, and then
Okay.
if you're just like trying to avert your eyes from that, and there's a picture of him and his wife, both naked, like earlier that year, both naked, standing on the beach. You can only see anything of her because she's standing with like her back against him, covering everything up with her hand. But there's like three photos from that same photo session, like pretty big on the wall, like right in front of you.
I feel like
There's
I would just embrace this guy and just be like, I get it. You know what? I get it. Like, you got money, you're
yeah.
doing your thing. Like, I appreciate you.
Well, he said that he built the house when he was young and single. And you can really tell because their pool has two sculptures of the same woman standing up with her hands on her hips, defiantly spread eagle, smiling up into the sky. And he can turn on a little button on his app that makes them pee into the pool.
Wonderful. Exactly what I imagined a very rich person would do with their pool.
So Jay, how was your week?
Well, my week was significantly more boring than that, but it was nice. Spent a lot of time with the family, which was really nice. But so I guess I probably shouldn't say it was boring. It wasn't boring. It was wonderful. I had a very nice week. Anyways, enough about my life after that crazy fucking story. How was your week in Eternal?
So my week in Eternal was pretty great. I finally made it to Masters. That'll be the deck of the week that we'll talk about here. Thank you to Rokoku. Super good. I don't know. I've been really digging his deck. And then I actually casted the Opal Waystone Classic tournament on Sunday, yesterday. That was super fun, and we'll talk more about that later too.
All right.
How about you?
I have played not a whole lot of Eternal. I have been playing a little bit here and there, but it's been primarily I was trying to play stuff like AP ramp and to not very much success. So I finally gave in, or I'm sorry, I played Mono Shadow for a while, and that was like pretty cool. It's a really neat deck, pretty powerful. But it wasn't really like getting me a whole lot of anywhere, just kind of like staying in the same spot. So I finally gave in to my overlords and started playing Stone Scar, because Stone Scar is quite the consistent deck and a play style that I seem to have success with. So I went with Team Rankstar's version of Stone Scar, which is more down my alley, more of the like mid-rangey, lower to the ground style Stone Scar deck, and I've been seeing success with that. So I mean, it's just an all around good deck. And we'll get into, I guess I might as well get into this now, because I don't really know if it fits anywhere else in today's episode. But I actually think that despite the fact that there is a lot of representation for Stone Scar, I don't really think that like the gap between Stone Scar and the other decks in the meta is like that great. It's just that Stone Scar is very straightforward to play, so people are very unwilling to come off of it. And I actually think that the meta is pretty healthy, other than the fact that a lot of people are still playing Stone Scar just because of that ease of piloting it. I think that the game has started to hit a point where it is so flushed with cards that do very similar effects, such as removal, that I feel like sometimes when some games that you play feel very autopilot, like you don't really have to think about what you're doing. You just, oh, I played a unit. They played a bigger unit. I'll remove their bigger unit. I'll swing. Like, so I don't necessarily think that that makes the game boring, because I still am enjoying Eternal. I'm actually like enjoying it still a lot more than I was before this current set came out. So, I don't know. Like, we'll get into it later on the last topic, but like obviously there are some signs of an unhealthy trend in the game. But from there, I'll go ahead and talk about what topics we're going to cover this week. So we will talk about the ETS that happened this past weekend, like we always do, and then I'm going to let Shark take away topic 2 with the Opal Waystone Classic, since I did not have an opportunity to watch very much of it, and he casted the event. And then from there, we're going to talk about the most recent announcement from Direwolf about the new format that they are coming out with, which is going to be on a trial period. And then the last topic I want to cover is the dwindling player base of Eternal. I know that it's Not a topic that a lot of people like hearing about because, anybody that's listening to this podcast obviously loves to play Eternal, and they don't like to think about the fact that it's very possible that one day the game becomes dead. But there's a pretty bad trend being observed in the analytics on player base numbers as far as Steam goes. So from there, let's jump right into the first topic. The first topic being the ETS Season 2, Week 7, which the first place was taken by Ray, not on Elysian Mall, but on Stone Scar, featuring a card we haven't seen a whole lot of lately, Bandit Queen.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that seems really cool. I'm taking a look at the list right now. Bandit Queen is still my waifu, he calls it. Yeah, it looks like this deck tops out at 5 with 2 Eclipse Dragons, which is interesting to see if there's only 2. I know that there's been some talk of having Tazboo be in there for your 5-drop, or Eclipse Dragon for your 5-drop. And even Enroush was interested in Highwayman at 5 as your 5-drop, but this deck seems much more low to the ground. Just trying to get in there. Actually, it feels.
It actually isn't that far different.
Same.
Yeah, it's really not that far off from the other Stone Scar lists that we've been seeing as of late, because it seems to have become the norm for these lists to be playing 4 Desecrate, 4 Annihilate. Now, this list is playing the Flame Blast, so it is playing more of an aggro plan, obviously with the Bandit Queens as well. Eclipse Dragon does seem a little weird in this list. I think that there is a reasonable chance that Highwayman could be solid as a 2-of in this list over the Eclipse Dragon. But other than that, I mean, your market is extremely similar to the markets that we've been seeing, with a couple of different choices. For instance, his anti control plan is Flamestoker instead of playing the cookbook, and then Shugo Standard instead of playing the 7-drop site, the Shadow site.
Bezo's office.
Yeah. But all in all, it's a very, you can't really break Stone Scar. It is,
yeah.
It definitely has its core units, and then you can kind of change it up here and there with a couple things like Bandit Queen or Highwayman, Dragon. Just depends on your play style, I'd say.
Yeah, good job, Bray.
All right, why don't you take us on the next one?
Next one was a deck by Eric9099 from my team, the Great Parliament. Congratulations,
Second place
Eric.
again.
Second place, yep, always. He called it Praxis Pledge, boring deck name for a boring deck. And it is literally just Praxis Pledge. There's no Dawnwalkers, there's no Zumicans.
Back up to 4 hearts, though.
Back up to 4 Heart of the Vaults, yeah.
That seems to be the flex slot.
Thing in the market is a phase out, maybe Dissociate.
I think they've been playing phase out for a while. I actually think that the thing that they are playing, the 2 things in their market that they don't normally play, are the Thundering Karasaur and the Amber Waystone. I think those are the 2 choices that we don't normally see. But like, as far as the deck goes, there's not really a whole lot of open space for ingenuity with these lists, I'd say.
Oh yeah, for sure.
All right.
I mean, he piloted it to good standing here. So let's see what else we got.
Yeah. So 3rd and 4th place, our first deck list we're going to look at is from Moosh playing Manuesses, or as we like to say, Maanus, playing Relic Aggro. So it's the Aurelian, is it? Sorry, I can't.
Yep, Aurelian Rats.
Aurelian Rats, featuring the 4 Zenon Obelisk build and the more unit heavy lists that are more popular as of lately, at least. I mean, I haven't really been seeing a whole lot of play the last few weeks, I'd say, but this is pretty much the same list where you got your Lucky Prospectors and your Seasoned Spelunkers, versus the heavy relic list that had more than the 13 relics that this list is playing in the main.
Yeah, this deck is pretty cool. Glad to see Rats back on the board.
The next one.
The next one is by Doc28 from Team Rankstar. He is actually The other person who is casting, him and Notorious GHP were both casting with me on Sunday. This is called Epic Alessi Moment with a Winky Face. So this is a really fun deck. Uses Crown Watch Press Gang to go find Alessi. Got a bunch of spells to get the correct power. It's got seek powers, find the ways, vanquish, defiance, torch. But in addition to Alessi, it also plays Pearl Abbey Smuggler, Red Canyon Smuggler, and Heart of the Vault, as well as Joe and the Great Parliament. Joe is probably there to take advantage of all the smugglers that they're running. Also really, really cool is Pristine Light and Sword of Unity. Giving all your units Aegis and buffing them up really huge, and then just wiping the board but getting all your units back is so great. Pristine Light is just incredible here.
Yeah, Moment of Creation is one of my favorite cards that just haven't really seen play lately. The last time it really saw a whole lot of play was in the early days of Set 5, I'd say.
Yeah, well, with this deck, there's only one, and it's in the market, the black market there, because there can only be one, and it's probably better that way because you don't want to draw that 7-cost thing in your opening hand. The big high stuff in your opening hand. You don't mind having a Joe because you also have the 2-cost draw card, and you can get rid of it with your smugglers.
Yep, for sure.
So I think this is a really great deck. I'd definitely give that a shot.
Yeah, I may check it out as well. So let's move on to our 5th through 8th list. First off, we've got Evenfeln, piloted by Agro Zeki, I want to say, is how to probably pronounce that. And there's not too much to say here. There has been a trend in the even-handed decks to pretty much stick to Shadow plus one other faction, because Last Chance plus even-handed Golem usually turns out to be like just so much card advantage. But this is more like of a Haunting Scream style build where you got your Black Hall War Leaders, Dusk Raiders, even-handed Golems, Rip Knife Assassins. Oh, and another reason that you want to be in Shadow is the Memory Dredgers, because it's just more recursion of your even-handed Golems. You basically can just draw a billion cards, get a whole bunch of chump blocks in, and then you also get cards like Sleeping Drought, which is kind of cute. And
yeah, I was just gonna say I've never seen Sleeping Drought in a real deck before, and there's the entire deck is 2-drops except for Last Chance, Memory Dredger, Vara, and the Power. Like it is real streamlined.
For those of you who may not know what Sleeping Drought does, it's a 2-cost fast spell that says play a unit from your void that died this turn exhausted. So it's kind of like a neat, I'm going to chump block with my even-handed Golem, and then at the end of your turn, I'm going to get it back exhausted, draw 2 cards. Like, it's just like more card advantage.
Yeah. It also works if your opponent plays removal on your Vara or Memory Dredger or whatever.
Yeah, and it seems like a lot of people tend to like this list because normally you don't see 5 likes this soon after an event. Also plays Royal Decree, which is one of my more favorite cards.
That thing can really screw up decks.
So moving on to the next list, Bike Spokes playing a Horu Flyers build that is pretty normal Horu Flyers build, except they only play the Palace in the market, which makes sense since Palace has changed since the last time we really saw a whole lot of Horu Flyers. They're also playing 4 of Lethrai Soothsayers, which is just fucking hilarious because, you're usually turning on Onslaught no matter what, and then putting 7 Premonition Bolts into your deck. It's just free torches.
Yeah. Really interestingly, he has named this deck Stone Scar.
Yeah, and we'll see that is a common trend with the last list that we're going to talk about from this event. Moving on to the next list, there's not much to say here. It's literally Team Rank Star Stone Scar from Notorious GHP, and as far as I can tell, there are no changes to this list.
Yeah, they're running the 4 Tazboo, but no dragons and no haunted, no highwaymen. Again, just to keep the humor in there, Notorious GHB has named this deck, please give me a reason to play something else.
Yeah, he has success with the list, and there's no reason for him to come off of the list.
Yeah, so the last deck in the top 8 is labeled Stone Scar, the last deck standing, but this is actually going to be our deck of the week by Rokoku. It's a Huru control-ish kind of deck. And we'll just talk about that later in the episode.
Yep, for sure. So let's move on to the next topic, and that is the Opal Waystone Classic. And I'm actually going to dip out for this topic because I don't have a whole lot to say about it. So, Shark, why don't you take it away?
All right. So the Opal Waystone Classic was a super cool idea that they wanted to do. I think it was at the beginning of the year, where everyone's deck has to have at least 8 cards from at least 4 colors in their deck. So they wanted it to be. It was the love child of Eternal Warcry and Shiftstone. Shiftstone helps you fix your mana base or your power base. I'm sorry, for all of your decks. And so they wanted a way to kind of show people that Shiftstone exists. If you haven't been using Shiftstone, you really should. And one way they thought of doing that is make a 4-color deck. Building a power base for that is going to be a headache. So use Shiftstone; it'll help you out. And so that's why they created this Opal Waystone Classic tournament with these cash prizes. First place got $150, second place got $100, third and fourth got $50, and they all got tapestries to hang on their wall or whatever they wanted to do with them. But so it was really, really cool to see all the creative decks. There was basically 2 schools of thought on when it came to building this deck. It was either we're going to completely follow exactly the spirit and the rule of the format. We're going to play a 4-color deck, fix all the power exactly how we need it, and just go with like all this good stuff from all those 4 colors. Or we're going to play a 2-color deck, or a 1, 2, or 3-color deck, and just squeak in a fourth color, or a third or fourth color, however you want to do it. And that's what you'll see in the top 2 decks. There was a significant amount of what Notorious GHB called wet FJS, or moist wind chest, whatever you want to call it. It was FJSP, so it was just FJS plus primal. And it was ugh, God, what a terrible names for the deck. But you remember back in the day when it was just FJS everywhere. It was Rizons and Statuary Maidens and just all the merchants and Slay, Defiance. Oh, I get headaches just thinking about that deck. But this version of the deck also had Primal, so they were also playing some interesting cards for the Primal. But surprisingly, half of the top 8, or unsurprisingly, I should say, half of the top 8 was the wet FJS. The first place winner was Alexi. I'm not going to pronounce the the last name. It starts it starts with TSZ, I think. But they were the first place winner of the ECL Invitational last weekend, I think it was. Not this past weekend, but the one before. And they played almost the exact same deck. It was a Huru list, Huru control list, but for this tournament, they ran 4 Nostrix and 4 display of, what was the display?
Display of Ambition.
Display of Ambition. Because that was Justice, Fire, and Shadow, and Nyctotraxion counted as the other 4 cards for the Fire and Shadow. And so they just used the Nyctotraxion with their merchants to swap it in and out and get some random cards that I saw actually go to pretty good use sometimes. And the Display of Ambitions were just super powerful with all their units. So Alexi 3-0'd in the finals. So if there is some clear power to this deck, because you saw it win last week in the ECL Invitational. You saw it win the Opal Waystone Classic. It was really, really cool. Now,
I feel like this is really pushing the boundaries of the spirit of the event.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like I said, while I was actually casting this tournament for a little while. It was Doc 28 and Notorious GHP who were casting the what's it called? The seal, not the sealed, the Swiss portion of the tournament, the first 6 rounds. and I was doing the mid-round updates. So I was watching as many different rounds matches as I could and taking down notes, and then I would explain them all at the end of the round.
Okay.
Until the top 8 when GHP had to go, and so I just hopped in the booth with Doc 28, and we just talked over the entire the tournament there. But yeah, this I definitely, like, while I was casting it, I said this literally feels like it's obeying the law, but not the spirit of the tournament.
Yeah, it's very much the whole, like, what is it, the EDH argument in Magic, where it's like, yeah, you can play this, but does it really support the spirit of it? I'm not a Commander player, so I don't really know how that goes.
Right. Yeah, and it's no big deal. The deck was legal. If they didn't want it to be legal, they would have changed the rules for something else. I mean, I know that they did make it so that cargoes do not count as your influence requirement cards, because that would be just way too easy to only play like a 2, maybe 3 color deck.
Yeah.
But so that was first place. Congratulations to Alexi. You've earned $150 after showing up twice with this same deck within a week and just, cleaning house.
With the same deck that, as far as I can tell, is barely functional. Like, I have seen it on ladder twice, and both times, I mean, obviously he knows how to play his own deck, but man, people that try to pick that deck up do not fucking know what they are doing. Like, it is not an easy deck to pilot.
Even watching him play in the finals, I was like, that's an interesting play. I don't think I would have done that. And then it turns out that's why he won, because he did that specific play or whatever. He was trying really hard to get Siditi triggered and on the opponent's body, and he was just using every single, and that's why I think you said last week that he was kind of a slow player. You played against him, you didn't really enjoy that he was a slow player, but there's a lot of things to think about with that deck, especially if you're drawing a ton of extra cards. Like,
yeah, no, I get it too. The deck is definitely very, very the deck is very in depth and obviously has lines that I do not see. I just like, and this is more of a me thing, is that when it comes to the game, Eternal card game, not necessarily any other card game, but like the game Eternal card game, I personally expect some amount of pace of play from my opponents, but that's just me.
Yeah, I mean, at a high level tournament, it can definitely be a little stressful. Maybe he's just like, okay, how do I win? What do I lose to? Just every turn, you gotta think to your house, that kind of thing. But so I think that's enough on this deck here. The second place deck, I think, was probably the most creative, even though it still kind of pushed the boundaries of the spirit of the game. This was Suno on a Combre list with only 2 cards that were not Combre. One was Vargo, which we saw a lot of in this tournament, and the FJS list. Everybody was trying to play Vargo and Harsh Rule and all the different sites and stuff in their FJS lists. But Suno was playing Vargo and Display of Instinct, which kills other sites, deals 4 damage to a target, as well as other things too. But I think the best thing that Suno did was play 4 Embargo Officer. That card absolutely slaughters the field here. Embargo Officer is a 1-cost 2/1 that says cards can't leave markets or voids. The last time that they tried to launch this event, but it failed because the website couldn't handle it and it crashed, almost everyone was playing Reanimator. And there was a couple of Reanimators there this time, but everyone was prepared for Reanimator. And I actually thought about it. I guess I hadn't thought about it because I didn't see the first time. But this time, there was a lot of people playing Reanimator because it is Felm, so Shadow and Primal, but it was also running 4 Privilege of Rank to get the card value off of discarding your cards, and 4 Azendel, so that's half of your Justice and half of your Time requirements. All they had to do is play 4 more of a Justice and Time unit as like a reanimation target, and you were set. Yeah. And so I think it was Jedi, he was running Grinva, the Time Justice Shadow card that can get reanimated with Vara.
Oh, okay, it was
brilliant. It was just so great. But everyone playing FJS was playing Statuary Maiden, was playing a Gavel in the Market. They were playing all that kind of stuff.
That seems pretty rough.
And
But
so
people are
embargo
prepared for
officer,
it.
yeah, people were prepared for it. An embargo officer stops that. It also stops all these FJS decks from going to their market. Not to mention the fact that he's also running 4 Vanquisher's Blade, which also stops the void.
Also, Reality Warden.
And Reality Warden as a 7/7 for 5, which is nuts. Cards can't leave the enemy void, so it's not even just units. This deck, I think, was really, really well thought out, and I saw him do some real nasty things with it. So congratulations, Suno, for your second place, and then third and fourth were FJS lists. You can take a look at those. I just wanted to point out the top 2 there, and talk a little bit about the tournament. So Jay, why don't you take us into our next topic?
All right, so we're going to talk mostly just kind of a news item about the new format that Direwolf Digital has announced called Expedition, and then we'll give a little bit of thoughts on it. So the Expeditions are supposed to be like these, they're not really like rotating formats, they're kind of like monthly formats from the way that they explained it. From what I can tell, they are expected to last a month at a time. They could last longer or be shorter. We don't know. They're currently in the thought exercise / testing phase of this, from what I understand. And the first one is going to be the Empty Throne, Defiance, and Dark Frontier. So that is set 1, set 5, and set 6, and no campaigns. And you can only build from those 3 sets, and it is supposed to go live this Thursday, June 27th. And it's replacing the casual queue for the time being. Now, that's not necessarily a permanent change, but that's what they're doing for now. And then I just want to mention real quick some possible concerns that we may have with the format. It's possible that it could splinter a small player base in Eternal. So let's say that people really enjoy this format. Say half the people that play the game enjoy this format, the other half don't enjoy the format. Now you have split a specifically small player base into 2 different groups. So like 2 different constructed groups. So I mean, like, I think that that's a very small concern. I don't actually think that that would be an issue. And then the other one is how is the pricing going to work for this? Is it going to be like ranked where you get bronze, bronze, silver, bronze, bronze, silver, or is it bronze, bronze, double bronze like casual queue?
Yeah, so I have a couple of thoughts on this. I do like that it's only it feels a little bit like an extended event to me. Like most of the events are a week,
That
maybe
makes
a
sense.
weekend. But it definitely feels more like an extended event rather than, taking over this entire thing. Like it feels more like a league, which is, a month, than it does a replacement of the casual queue forever. Also, very interesting that there's no campaigns. It doesn't take set 2 or set 3 into account. It's literally only the Empty Throne, Defiance, and Dark Frontier, which I think is a nod to trying to get new players into the game, because it can be pretty daunting to get, however many campaigns we have. I think it's 5 campaigns right now, and we've got 6 different sets. How do you get all the legendaries from all that to play all these like legendary heavy decks? It's pretty hard for a new player.
Yeah, that
And so
makes sense.
I think this is probably a pretty good step towards being very friendly towards new players.
Yeah, I didn't really think about that. It's obviously it's the 2 newest sets, plus the original first set, which they pretty freely, for a while at least, gave out packs of set 1.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense to me. I don't really know what else there is to say about it other than I hope that it's fun. Like that, I don't know how much time I'm gonna spend trying to like innovate for this at all, because I actually kind of like where the meta's at right now, even though there's maybe a little bit too much Stone Scar being played. But like I said earlier, Stone Scar doesn't feel like the Stone Scar pre-nerf. So
Yeah, I feel like the only people who are going to have a problem with this are the people who like to play in casual without reducing their ranked ratings. But like, just play ranked. If you care about your rank rating, then draft or something, or I don't know, like what. But why do you care about your ranked rating? There's nothing on the line for it.
Yeah, there's also the smaller group of people that are like won't play ranked because they have this misconception that it's going to be like more meta decks. But I think that like a lot of people have been very forthcoming about the fact that it's not like casual is actually full of people with meta decks. And if you're a new player and you play ranked, the game should be putting you against people who are either similar skill level or similar collection
Win rate
size.
or win rate.
Yeah,
That's
that too.
basically what it is. That's what the MMR is. It's your match percentage or what match, um,
So basically, what
whatever
I'm
it's
saying
called.
is, try to, as somebody who, in at times during my life have experienced ladder anxiety, try to just like not worry about your rank, especially if you're like in the bronze and silver levels. It's fine. You're gonna have way more fun playing in ranked, trust me, than you would in casual, anyways.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's a good thing. I don't know if I'm either going to particularly put much thought into this unless the prizes are great. But I'm also a player who's been playing since set one. So I've got all these crazy cards. I've got everything I could ever want. I'm happy to throw money at the game because I really support it. Some people can't. Some people would rather not. And this might be the format for you. So
Yeah.
definitely give it a shot. If you've got some crazy decks for it, shoot us some lists. Maybe we'll try them out.
Yeah, for sure. I'd definitely be at least trying out the new set. It's always interesting to try out these new things. All right, so moving into the last topic, I wanted to take up the mantle because our uh, resident guy who posts trends has been banned from the subreddit. I want to talk a little bit about the Steam charts of the player base for Eternal. So I try to check this out like once a week because I'm very interested to see about the growth or decline of particular games that I enjoy playing. I do this with Counter Strike as well. Um, but I have been noticing that we're seeing a downward trend with, at the very least, our Steam player base. And I think that it's a very safe to assume that these trends likely apply across the board. I'm going to make that assumption. I don't really care if that's if somebody may feel like that's a incorrect assumption to make. I think that that's a pretty strong assumption to make, that these numbers probably represent how people feel across the board. So I noticed that in the last 30 days, we are seeing an average players. So this is your average at any given moment that you would log in, of a little over 600 people at a time. Now, that's a pretty healthy number of people if you're considering that they're mostly split between two different things, which is draft and constructed. I can say this from a place where I play Magic Online, and Legacy has like at any given moment maybe 50 people playing, and that's relatively healthy there. Um, but one thing that I've noticed is that this 620 average player count is the lowest we have ever experienced in the 2.5 years that Eternal card game has been playable on Steam. So I want to maybe kind of like spitball a few things about why maybe we're seeing this decline, or maybe what's wrong with Eternal, to like why are we seeing these lower counts of players. And the first thing I wanted to bring up is that the game has been playable for 2.5 years, and I mean everything has a time frame attached to it. It's very possible that 2.5 years, the game has been out long enough. They just officially released it back in November, and we saw a bump in players back in November. So back in November, we were seeing an average of 1,000 to 1,300 players at the time. And so now we're seeing about half that many on average. at any given moment. And that's not even like the best that the game has ever been as far as average players go. The best that the game has been was around October and September of 2017, which I wasn't playing at that time when they were regularly seeing 1,300 players or more.
Yeah, and I mean, there's probably a whole bunch of reasons for that, and I think that only Direwolf Digital has the actual, more statistics than just player numbers to know why. Like, how far do they get? Do they get through the tutorial? Is it, do they play for X amount of months and then stop? Do they play one game a day? They'll have that kind of stats inside um, their own, studio, but we don't have access to that, so we can't really tell exactly why.
Yeah.
Though we can definitely extrapolate and try and guess.
Yeah, and I think the next thing I'm going to bring up is probably a very strong possibility as to why we're seeing these lower counts, and that is a very, very popular alternative officially released just a few months ago, and that's Magic Arena. Obviously, a lot of Magic players come over to Eternal because Eternal is very, very functionally similar to Magic. I mean, any of us that have played Magic understand that the games are similar with slightly different mechanics. And Magic Arena officially launched and saw more success than Wizards of the Coast was expecting. And I think that it's very possible that people are just spending more time playing Arena to the point where they're just like either very indoctrinated because it's Magic. I mean, a lot of us, like I said, got into card games because of Magic. It's Arena is a grind. So if you play a lot of Arena, it's very easy to not have to put money into it. Very similar to like Eternal, where if the more you play, the less, the more likely you are to have a full collection. Arena requires more of a grind. Plus, Arena has that whole obtainable, like right now, we don't have ECQs to look forward to anymore, which is another possibility, is that like there is no like very large tournaments to look forward to for like the common player like us. There's obviously the Worlds is coming up. The World Championship is coming up for those players that are qualified. But what about you and me? Like if we wanted to play in an ECQ and play for $1,000 or whatever, the only alternatives we have out there right now are like ETS and ECL and like the Opal Waystone Classic. But like we're talking like hundreds of dollars, not like thousands. And if there's anything that I know about Magic players and other card game players in general, is that we are never satisfied with prize money or value, and Magic players will fucking complain about winning $1,000 because they should be winning too.
Like, right? Yeah.
When they're going 0-3 drop. So so there's other alternatives out there like Magic Arena. And then maybe people are just finally losing their faith in Direwolf. I actually think that Direwolf has shown as of the last few months that they are trying to turn a new leaf and be much more upfront with us. And obviously they just announced Expedition. Like I'm very much hoping that now that there is a format coming out that is more accessible for those new players, that we may see some numbers coming back.
Exactly. I'm real excited about that. That's why I'm excited about this new Expedition format. There's a lot of people who are like, "Oh, I don't need this. I already, blah blah blah." It's not for you. It's not for the people who are already playing ranked, having fun in ranked. It's for the new people who aren't having fun in ranked, who aren't having fun in casual because everyone in casual is playing ranked decks. Like it is specifically for the people who can't afford the the new decks, and they don't want to go right out and say that, but that's literally what it's for.
Yeah, exactly. I think that like I think everybody should be happy that they are trying to make steps to build the player base, because obviously looking at the trends, they are hemorrhaging player count really fast. Like it looks like, I'm looking at the numbers right now. So the last time that we had an average over 1,000 was January of this year, which we were averaging 1,070 people. And then the following month, February, we had 870. So that's a pretty significant drop, about an 19% drop. And then following that, we have another 12% drop. and then a 7% drop. And then we had a little bit of a bump last month. Very likely from, was it New Set that came out last month? I think New Set came out
Yes. Yep.
last month. So, or towards the end of April. So we saw
It
a
was
little
the beginning
bump.
of May.
We saw a little bump from the New Set. And in the last 30 days, we've seen a 22% drop. That is the largest percentage drop that we have seen since the game officially released, and since March of 2017, which was very early days of the game. So that's a very concerning number to be seeing if you enjoy playing the game. I guess the last thing that I want to bring up is it possible that unfun metas are a culprit as well? The issue with making this argument is that it's very subjective. Some people are going to find certain metas enjoyable, and others would not find it enjoyable, and vice versa. For instance, I thought that the meta before the current or before the most recent balance changes was not very fun. And I can tell you that Rokuku would not agree with me, because they felt that the meta was very healthy before that change. But I disagree. I don't really want to get into that. The point being is that they don't think the current meta is enjoyable, but I do. So obviously we have two different ideas of what a fun meta is.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, everybody has fun doing different things. You know, some people like playing aggro. Some people like not playing aggro. Playing mid range or control. But everybody has their own opinions, and so fun is subjective. Exactly. So everybody. I'm just saying the same thing over and over again. Ignore me.
So I'm hoping that this trend slows down at the very least. And I hope it does end up reversing, but it is concerning, because obviously you and I have a podcast about this game. We enjoy playing Eternal very much, and there is definitely a plateau that you can hit before everything just starts spiraling downwards and everybody has long queue times, or you queue into people that are nowhere near your skill level, or
like if I played you, Jay.
Yeah, exactly. I would be way too easy.
Yeah, you would be way too good.
Way too easy. But okay, so enough sky is falling talk. Basically, it's up to us to try and get people interested in playing the game, and people to come back to the game. And then it's also
Direwolf starts spending some money on marketing, but it's been 2 years and they haven't, so who knows?
Yeah, honestly, I don't think it's happening at this point. I think if we want the game to continue going, number one, obviously Direwolf has to work hard at keeping the meta interesting. And I really hate to see things like ham-fisted solutions like the last balance patch, where they just change so many things at one time. Like that to me is a really that's just jarring everything really quickly. So we'll just move on from that, and let's go right into the average brew of the week.
Oh baby, I'm so excited about this list. So like I said at the beginning, this list actually took me to Masters this month. I was slacking a lot, and I made it to Masters, I think the day before. So it would have been Saturday, the day before the Opal Waystone. This deck is so much fun. Thank you, Rokoku, who is now on Team Genji, if you didn't know. Super cool dude. Their deck is called Stone Scar, the last deck standing, but it's actually Huru. So this list, let me just group it by type here. It only plays 14 units. It's got 4 Cliffside Porter, 4 Crownwatch Press Gang, or 3 Crownwatch Press Gang to go get those porters. 4 Rhyme, 4 the Huru Smuggler, and 3 Nostrix, Lord of Vision. So if you don't know what Nostrix does, or Cliffside Porter, that's understandable. Cliffside Porter is a 1-cost Primal Influence Explorer unit. It's a 0/1 with Echo. So it's just a 1-cost unit with Echo. Crownwatch Press Gang goes and gets you a 1-cost unit with Echo. And Nostrix is a 6-cost 5/7 Flying Owl that costs triple Justice, triple Primal. It has the ability Mentor. So basically, if you deplete one of your units, give that unit and each copy in your hand and deck +5/+5 permanently. So the idea here is, you play the smugglers and the press gangs to kind of keep yourselves alive, and the press gang will go and get the porter that which is part of your combo, sort of. And then you play, Defiance, Ice Bolt, Permafrost, Hailstorm, Pristine Light, Harsh Rule, all these cards to kind of stop your opponent from killing you while you wait to draw your Nostrix. And you can also draw your Nostrix off of the Wisdom of the Elders, the Strategizes, the Honor of the Claws. There's lots of draw in here too. So it's basically draw, removal, and your little tiny combo. And so the plan here is to play Cliffside Porter, then play Nostrix, which pumps that Porter and the other one that's in your hand, and all the rest of them that are in your deck. I think the most fun that you can have playing Eternal is when you get the combo off, you get Nostrix and Cliffside Porter, then you play a couple more Porters, and then you Pristine Light. If you've attacked that turn, Pristine Light says destroy all units with, or kill all units with power 4 or greater. If you attack this turn, draw all those units back that left that went into the void on for you this turn. So every time you draw one of those buffed up Cliffside Porters, you draw another one because it has Echo. So if you had 4 Cliffside Porters that all died to your Pristine Light, you're going to draw 8 Cliffside Porters. It's so much fun. The deck is great. It's basically Hero Control, but with a weird top end. So definitely give it a shot. It's super fun, and I don't know what else there is to say other than Rokoku did it, and good job, Rokoku.
Yeah, and in case any of you didn't know, that was actually a very popular deck back in Set 3, I believe. Set 3.5. Because I believe that came out in that campaign, was the Porter. I can't remember.
That was actually Jex Bounty. That was super early. Nostrix came out in Omens.
Okay, so then that was a Set 2 thing.
Yeah.
Possibly. I don't know. I didn't play back then.
Yeah, well, Nostrix was definitely a Set 2 thing, but nobody was really playing him at the time.
I remember Nostrix Porter being a thing in Set 3.
Yeah, I would probably say Set 3, maybe Set 4. Nostrix Porter was happening, because Kromnox Press Gang, I don't think really got much press until much later. And it was mostly to draw other units. Yeah, Alessi.
Yeah. All right, so let's talk about the brew skis of the week. So this week I brought Orangeade by Platform Beer. This is a session sour ale. I drink a lot of Platform. I talk about them a lot here. So this is one of they one and done style beers. This is a orange sour ale with electrolytes. And this is, I think the best way to describe what this tastes like is like, imagine orange LaCroix, except actually tastes like orange. And not like you farted into an orange 4 rooms away and then sniffed like the outdoor air, and then like that hint of orange that you get from like 4 rooms away, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, kinda.
I'm saying LaCroix tastes like ass. So this doesn't taste like ass. This is actually very tasty. It's got the salty taste to it, kind of similar to that blackberry sour that I had. Except it's orange. I mean, like, what, you can't really go wrong if you enjoy orange flavored things.
Yeah, for sure. That seems pretty good. So most of you, if you're a longtime listener, you'll know that usually I do IPAs. But relatively recently, a few weeks ago, I went to the local liquor store, got a bunch of different types of beer, like one-offs. And then I've been drinking them. And then Mrs. Shark and her friend came over and drank some of them. And so there's one left. And this one is just absolutely fitting with this whole week. It is called Florida Cracker, which is exactly what I was this week. This is a Belgian-style white ale brewed with coriander and orange peel. It's done by Cigar City Brewing in Tampa, Florida. It's fine. I do miss my IPAs, but we're both orange flavored this week, so cheers.
Cheers. All right, so let's move right into our sign-offs. Shark, where can they find you?
Fucking, I don't know. Hang on, let me pull that.
So
The
you
best
can,
place to find me is Discord. You can also find me yesterday casting a tournament. If you go back in time, or if you watch the VOD from the ECL tournament, you can actually probably find that at, what was it? The Great Parliament on Twitch. The Great Parliament. Pretty simple. You can find me on Twitch as well as TallSharkandHandsome. You can find me on Eternal as TallSharkandHandsome plus 4960, and on Reddit as TallSharkandHandsome, and on Twitter as @SharkandTall, because TallSharkandHandsome wouldn't fit. Jay, where can they find you?
You can find me in Shark or BB's Discord, where I am pretty active. You can also find me at my Twitch, JayOSU. I haven't streamed in like a month, but I do plan on sometime streaming soon. You can find me on Eternal, JayMang plus 8035. Reddit is JayOSU. And then you can find me on Twitter, where I tweeted this week for the first time in like over a year. At JayOSU, and all I did was say hi Reddit. Or I'm sorry, not Reddit. I said hi Twitter. Fuck.
You did.
I can't even do it right. Anyways, so if you guys have any questions or topic suggestions, please leave us a comment. I realize that as the player base is dying, so is people that are listening to us. So please give us stuff to talk about.
Yeah, and that's totally fine. Matricles, next week, I'll get back to my IPAs. He's the person who asked about him that other week.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I'm pretty sure that next week I'm doing an IPA as well, because this has been a long enough hiatus from them. So anyways, this was episode 18, I want to say. I believe it's episode 18.
Jay can't count, everyone.
This is episode 18 of The Eternal Struggle. Thanks for listening, guys, and stay average.
I can't believe it's been 18 weeks.